What's the stupidest thing you've seen a grown but adult get angry over? Not being allowed to watch P on the computers in the children's section of the public library. The children's computers had a content filter on them to prevent this sort of thing from happening. However, this dude brought a flash drive with his favorite videos on it, and when the computers in the non-children's section were all in use, he decided that the best course of action was to go over to where there were a number of young kids working on homework and playing Minecraft. When a librarian told him he couldn't do that on those computers and asked him to leave, he flipped out, accused the librarian of being a pedophile and rapist, and threatened to both sue and stab everyone who worked at the library. The cops were called and they ended up having to tase him to get him to leave. Was at the bookstore Borders with my family. My mom saw a toy car my little brother liked, so she broke the door on it and then asked the cashier if she could get a discount on it since it was broken. Cashier said she wasn't allowed to give discounts, so my mom called her a stupid fat bee and stormed out of the store. This is one of the more mild incidents with my mom. Needless to say, I do not talk to her anymore. I used to work as a cashier at a grocery store and would work the express lane, 15 items or less, and turning away people with hundreds of items was nerve-wracking because it wasn't uncommon for grown adults to throw a fit over it. As a senior, I am embarrassed at some of my so-called peers with how they act in public. I worked in pharmacy and entitled seniors are the worst. I vow never to be like them. Well, my dad's new wife totally lost her crap because she was going through my dad's phone and in a group text message between him, me, my brother, and my sil I sent some pictures I had taken while we were on vacation at Disney. We took my mom, it was me, husband, 8-year-old son, my mom, my Mill, and my Phil, so naturally she was in some of the pictures. That started a 6-month period of her harassing me over phone, text, email, threatening me, and all around losing her crap. My dad and I no longer talk, so that was fun. I work as a barista at a coffee shop. One day this dude comes up and wants a filter coffee with almond milk at exactly 47 degrees. So I did exactly that. Few seconds later he loses his crap and complains that the drink is wrong. I asked him what was wrong with it and he replied, no, he basically shouted and insulted me, that the drink was 1mm too high. I was like, what? He asked if only retards work in the coffee shop, as it's very easy to see the line in the cup he brought with him. He said this has never happened to him. He feels insulted, so on and so forth. I tried to calm him down but he insisted I get the manager. My manager came and banned him from entering the store ever again. That's a quality manager right there. My grandma is a type 2 diabetic. When she was staying with my family after Hurricane Harvey destroyed her trailer, she got really peed off that my stepdad was making healthy meals for her instead of her favorites like fries, pizza, hamburgers, pasta, etc. My stepdad being type 2 as well, he said he wasn't going to enable her horrible eating habits and let her slowly kill herself. I work as a nurse aide on a cardiac unit. We have a lot of people with diabetes and with heart failure that act this way over the food the doctors let them have. They're peed, and we're literally trying to save their life. Literally anything with traffic, in multiple places. Honking can basically mean you want to fight. My aunt had a guy get out of the car and start banging her car and screaming because she passed him. I've had people throw their car in park because I honked after realizing they wouldn't look up from their phone after sitting at a green light. Stop being a dong when someone calls you out for being a crap driver. A friend once called me, fuming mad, because the person working the drive-thru said, welcome to fast food restaurant. Would you like to try our featured item? Today he was furious about it. Your job is not to tell me what I want. Your job is for me to tell you what I want. He yelled this to me, as if he was talking to the employee. The only reason he called me was to be about the drive-thru employee. I was like, dude, have you never been to a drive-thru before? They almost always do that. And besides, it is part of their job to recommend the featured items to everybody. That employee was almost definitely instructed to do so by their boss, and would have gotten in trouble if they didn't. I think you should reveal it to friend choices. My grown-ass cousin got angry at her 5-year-old niece for liking unicorns because she, adult cousin, liked them first. I wouldn't give him a free refill on his popcorn because we'd closed the stand and thrown it all away already. The security guard had to intervene at one point because he thought the guy was actually going to hit me. The large chain movie theater I worked at required us to put the end of day popcorn in garbage bags then throw it back into the machine the next morning. The crazy old ladies that showed up at 10 AM swore that the fresh stuff was best. My office wore March of Dimes shirts during the month of November. We weren't asking for donations or anything, we were just wearing the shirts. One man started complaining as soon as he saw them, saying that it's ridiculous how much people donate to children's cancer research when so many more adults have cancer. He continued being loud about it and even started engaging other customers. March of Dimes is not a charity for childhood cancer research, but for babies born prematurely. Not only did he look like an idiot, he also looked like an butt. Expired coupons that weren't redeemable because we no longer had the product. Sure, you had the product, you were just hiding it in the back. I was getting a tire patch which is free at the shop I went to. Another lady behind me in line flipped her lid that her oil change was a whopping 80 cents more than the last time she had been in, an 80-cent increase, and that it had always been that price before. She then insisted since I wasn't being charged, she shouldn't be either, even though they were two very different services and mine never had a charge to begin with. They offered her an 80c discount to match her previous price, because I'm not going to argue with you over 80 cents. She took the discount but was ranting the entire time about preferential treatment etc etc. I used to work in a PT clinic as an aide, not a clinician, not certified in anything, just there to guide patients through exercises and get them a heat pad ice pack later. Huge busy place, so reusable ice packs, not always absolutely 100% frozen for the next person, but definitely cold. Had a lady insist that her ice pack was not turned on. Told her I just took it out of the freezer. Give it a minute to get through the pillowcase around it. 30 seconds later, this woman is screaming that I am wasting her money because I refused to turn her ice pack on and she hopes I get hit by a car after work. Okay lady, whatever helps you sleep at night. Had a mother stalk me on university campus when I reported her son for plagiarizing on 3 essays in a row after he refused to admit he had purposefully done so. We're talking full paragraphs linked by Turnitin into specific web pages. She finally confronted me after a few days. I had noticed her because she suddenly was everywhere I was, and lost her crap when I said that I could not discuss any student in any class with her. Stomped her foot, went into a dramatic monologue in the athletic center foyer about how she would do anything for her son, questioned my ethics, credentials, belief in God, and was yelling at me about heck when security dragged her out. The moral of the story, always get them monologuing. Went with some friends to Nick in the first couple of weeks of December to do Christmas things in the city. One of those things was to go to FAO Schwartz, but because there were so many other people trying to do the same thing we had to wait in line. It was a 50-minute wait in line and we were queued up. Line wrapped around the block and in that time we got to yuck it up with the people in line with us. I turned around to say something to friends, then turned back around to move forward and noticed two strange women ahead of me that were not in line a moment before. I turned back around to give my friends a "you seeing this crap look at the women that cut" when a guy with a stroller tried to brush past me. I stopped him dead in his tracks by standing in front of the stroller. I told him that the back of the line was down the block and about a 40-minute wait from our current spot. He just looked at me like I was the butthole and said thanks for the information, but I am trying to get to the rest of my group, while nodding to the women that cut the line when I wasn't looking. The people ahead of us that we had been joking with heard the commotion that I was making and started in on the women that cut the line. The guy was looking angrier and angrier as he kept trying to get past me, and finally the line as a whole managed to get the line cutters to shove off. As the group of line cutters were leaving, the guy looked back and shot me some colorful comments about the quality of my character and left. Yeah, I don't care that you are upset that I wouldn't let you, your infant, and two women in tow cut the line. Friend of mine got seriously hurt off a 50+ foot ski jump trying to avoid this 6-year-old girl hanging out in the blind landing. My friend is on the ground crying with his broken leg and ribs, and the father of this girl had the audacity to go stand over him and start screaming at him about how he could have killed his daughter, the 6-year-old hanging out in a blind spot where professional athletes were training. The mass of the park surrounded this guy quickly and told him they better never see him in a terrain park teaching his daughter how to ski on the landings of massive jumps, and proceeded to escort him and his daughter down the mountain. Freaking idiot almost got his daughter killed, permanently injured my friend, and then decided to come scream at an injured person who just hurt themselves to save his daughter's life. The worst part, he didn't learn his lesson and blames everyone else for being jerks. A parent at my childcare center was peed I wouldn't let her take another child's boots. She swore up and down they were her son's, even though they were too big for him and clearly labeled with someone else's name. I lost count of how many times someone has screamed in my face when I asked for it for a rated R movie or explained to a customer we have reserved seating so they had to choose their seat when buying a ticket. I'm a flight attendant, so I see adults get angry over stupid things pretty much every time I go to work. It's usually when they are asleep and get angry because we skipped them during the beverage service. Also had a guy get furious and scream at me because we didn't have meals to serve in main cabin on a 2-hour flight. I calmly explained to him that we don't have meals on that length of a flight. He just kept going on and on about how ridiculous it was, as if I should simply produce a meal for him out of nowhere while we were in the air. My mom got so mad she was red in the face. It was about biscuits at a restaurant not being perfect. A lot of the movie theaters in my area have converted to a choose a seat when purchasing a ticket model. Guy was trying to buy tickets with his daughter and having an absolute fit because there weren't many good seats left for that time slot, and that this process doesn't allow for spontaneity anymore. He's not wrong about that, but he was raging at the poor high school kid just doing her job. Worked customer service at a grocery store. Woman brings in freaking boxes of canned goods and cereal boxes. No receipt. She says she bought them for a donation but forgot. Just for giggles I scan the item to return and it's not in our system. I take a look at the cans. Expiration date 2005. It was 2008. Look at the cereal boxes. Expiration date 2007. I explain that we can't return her goods because they were purchased a long time ago, and even if I wanted to, they don't scan into the system. She throws a fit, straight screaming about terrible customer service, getting the attention of everyone in the store. My manager comes over and she screams he won't return my goods. My manager says to just do it. I tell him to look at the expiration date, and he says to the lady, I'm sorry, but you can't just clean out your pantry and expect to return expired goods. She yelled some more before storming off and leaving all the stuff sitting on the counter. To this day I don't understand how a 40-something adult thought they would get away with that. I worked at an auto parts store for a while. We'd get middle-aged dudes who'd get mad at us for not looking for parts that don't exist for their cars, or for simply asking them to clarify what they're working on. It's incredibly disheartening to see a grown-ass man throw a hissy fit all because he doesn't know what kind of car he has. I need pads and rotors for a 2004 Malibu. Okay sir, here you are. 2 hours later, you gave me the wrong parts. These don't fit my 2005 Malibu. I saw a woman lose her crap because Borders wouldn't accept her Barnes & Noble's gift card. During the yelling it became clear that she was aware Barnes & Noble's had closed but Borders was obligated to accept the gift card because it was Christmas and it would be unfair if her Barnes & Noble card was useless. I worked at a bookstore in high school and every winter we have a book drive and ask customers if they'd like to donate a children's book when they are checking out. Usually people say no. Sorry, but one guy would not stop going on and on about how if he wanted to buy our book, he'd just keep it, not donate it. So I replied okay, you don't have to donate and proceeded to move on in the process and tell him his total, and he just kept circling back to how ridiculous it was that I asked him to donate a $4 book to kids in schools who couldn't afford them. Up until the moment he left, he's the only person I ever thought was an butthole for not donating. My nephew is a gymnast and he is very skilled. I was at one of his compilations award ceremonies to watch his receive a medal and saw a mother red face screaming from the crowd at me nephew saying he has won too many times. You should be kicked out to give the other kids a chance. She then went on to scream and swear till she was escorted out by security. I was later told by my nephew that her son came up to him not long after and apologized for his mum's behavior. I feel bad for both of the boys, especially the one with the psycho mother. You know she's thrown enough fits for him to immediately apologize for her. A guy with his kids inside a McDonald's which was inside a Walmart. He brought his order back to the counter and asked the pregnant cashier who doesn't get paid enough to deal with this crap what he ordered. His attitude started out calm enough, but anybody who has worked food service long enough could tell he was going to be one of those customers that just blows up in a rage after they've made their point. He explained that he had ordered a different sandwich and she replied that, no, he ordered what they had given him. He was shouting and swearing. A manager got involved and told him they would just give him the money back. So he took his money back, aggressively of course, and said to his kids in a loud and self-righteous tone, come on, kids, let's go to a real McDonald's. Bro needed to get over himself. This is exactly how I imagine MCDs inside Walmarts. A longtime parishioner made a scene before the morning service when she spotted a family sitting in her pew. As I noted some time ago, she insisted that the family move or that she leave the church and take her substantial pledge with her. To their credit, the family, newcomers to the church, didn't move and the woman left in a huff, much like a child having a tantrum. Ooh off, wow, substantial pledge. That is some little holier than thou BS. I answer 911 calls. One day we had a fatal car crash happen and had to reroute traffic from the main road down a side road, then back up to the main road. A woman who lives on the side road called 911 asking why there was commercial traffic passing through her residentially zoned home. I explained there was a serious car accident on the main route and that as soon as that was resolved, the detour would be removed. She continued to complain, very angrily, that the trucks going by her house were kicking up dust and pebbles into her driveway, and demanded we send someone to clean it for her. I said no, we don't do that. She demanded to speak to her supervisor. I got all her information. Then I told her he'd be along to speak to her in person after he was finished informing the family of the person who died in the car accident that their family member was dead. Then I hung up the phone. When the sergeant got there, she refused to come to the door and refused to answer the phone when we called her back. Had a boss who took a trip to the college football championship game. His tickets were like $1,500 each. When he got back, we asked him how his trip went. In a high-pitched whine he said everything sucked because his nachos were cold. An old boss of mine couldn't open his Kit Kat wrapper and so he headbutted a wall in anger. My mother is currently angry as frick at my wife and I for following her advice and getting a dog to help with my anxiety. Why is she angry? Because we got a big lab. Why is this idiotic? Because she wanted us to get a tiny lap dog, even though her dog hates anything that's of its size or smaller. Dog is doing wonders for my anxiety. Mother, not so much. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.